Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and today I've got a special guest joining us at the forefront of automotive innovation. And today's guest is the Senior Vice President, Corporate R&D at Magna International. And if you don't know, Magna is a global automotive supplier dedicated to shaping the future of mobility with cutting-edge technologies that make vehicles faster, cleaner, and more efficient. And today's guest, with his rich experience and keen insights, is going to delve into how Magna is driving the transformation towards the car of the future, including electrification, automation, connectivity, from software-defined vehicles to integrated safety systems. But enough from me. Let's get him on the podcast now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Well, first, thank you very much, Neil. Happy to be here. Happy to be in your show. Yeah, and who I am. I am a passionate engineer, I would say, from background. I'm an electronics engineer. I studied electronic control systems and software. But I think what characterizes me most is passion for technology and passion for sport, and combining it both. Running long distances means you have to keep your target in the focus and make sure you manage it. And this is same story in day-to-day business, following trends and launching innovations.
Well, there's so much I'm looking forward to talking with you about today. And for anybody that's hearing about Magna International for the very first time, can you tell me a little bit more about your approach to highly integrated systems and how it informs the design of software-defined vehicles, and also how that integration facilitates innovations in things like safety and sustainability? Because it's incredible what you're doing here.
Yeah, I do. It's my pleasure. So I think integrated systems in the consumer and in the household world is something everybody knows. I mean, if you look into a smartphone today, where you have integrated a camera, voice recorder, audio player, calendar, mail device, etc. So for small systems, this is a standard in all industry, not only in automotive. In automotive as well, when you think about the condensed approach to integrate an anti-lock braking system or stability system, and nowadays, where we look on the outlook on e-mobility, on e-drive cars, we can enlarge the system integration, because you don't have the classical body and white building anymore, where you have to consider a combustion engine in front and maybe a rear drive transfer case on the rear axle, which was blocking the front axle and the rear axle in history together. Nowadays, if you integrate an all-wheel drive with an electric vehicle, you can think about having a front part of the vehicle, having a rear part of the vehicle, and the driver's compartment in between. And so you can think about totally new ways to design and manufacture the vehicle, which opens maybe some new spaces for easier assembly, which at the end is cost reduction, and for subsystems that you can deliver to the customers, which you can design independently from the full chassis, and of course, which can be pre-assembled in front and then be delivered just in sequence to the OEM.
And on this Daily Tech podcast, I always try and get people thinking differently about how technology impacts areas that they might not associate with, or they may not associate with technology. So as vehicles now, our home cars, the cars that we have to drive us to work, etc., as they become increasingly reliant on software, how is Magna addressing these challenges and indeed the risks associated with over-the-air updates? And are there any security protocols that you're having to put in place here?
Yeah, of course. We in central research department and central R&D department in Magna, we think about new vehicle architectures, what may be a powerful architecture of the future, but how can this be cost effective as well? So how can we scale combining different ECUs that maybe will be connected through high-speed or via high-speed internet, Ethernet in the future, so Ethernet in the car and over-the-air updates to the outside world. So definitively we we create such approaches technically wise, and we define ECUs and the full vehicle network for it. But on the other side, of course, we are one of the largest supplier for ADAS systems, which not only provides ADAS and safety functionality, but which may offer fully new functionalities to the end customers, where we think about combination of drive systems, navigation, infotainment, to have a better navigation and road prediction, and with that optimize the fuel or energy consumption of a battery electric vehicle. And these are all topics we are considering in corporate R&D. We define algorithms, and we define more and more encapsulated software functions that, of course, and can be maybe sold one day independently from the ECU, so that we really talk about software as a product, as you know nowadays from apps on a mobile phone or on mobile devices.
And of course, the old mantra in business is you can only improve what you measure. So can you tell me a little bit more about the metrics or key performance indicators that Magna uses to measure that environmental impact of your products and indeed processes?
Well, if we indeed talk about environmental impact, meanwhile, each and every OEM, and we are doing B2B business, so for our customers in OEM, they have clear CO2 targets for their vehicles. And in the full supply chain that we have established, meanwhile, we are capable to calculate all the CO2 emissions and the environmental impact that we have step by step following the full process. And mostly all OEMs, they do have their databases that we have to feed. And we have clearly to tell them before we go into production, what is the CO2 footprint of our product and our supply chain, so that they can accumulate the CO2 footprint to their full vehicle. And therefore, we get targets with each and every project that we do nowadays, and we have to sign up for those. And then we have to make clear that we follow, of course, the requirements. And internally, with those highly integrated systems, of course, we try to reduce the footprint. We try to take out manufacturing steps. We try to take out material. We may use recycled materials, etc., so that all comes together to fulfill sustainability requirements.
And given the increased focus on sustainability, I'm curious, how are you at Magna ensuring that your supply chain, particularly for things like electric vehicle components such as batteries, etc., are environmentally friendly? Because I get from talking to you today, this is something that's very important to you, right?
Yes, definitely. Sustainability is not only for the generation that a topic that comes new into end consumers' perspective, but as said, fulfilling at least the Paris Agreement and fulfilling the CO2 footprint requirement of each and individual OEM, we track those in a database system to fulfill the requirements as set to the OEMs. But internally, we are as well investigating what kind of alternative material can we use. Do we need magnets in electric motors? How can we reduce weight in our system solution, especially for body construction? It's extremely important. And for battery covers, so we don't supply full battery systems, but we deliver battery trays and battery carriers. And here it all comes together to find the right material, the right material mix, and of course to use recycled material in our supply chain as well.
And there was a saying, I think it was the leader at IBM more than a decade ago now, and she said that the last best experience that any of us have anywhere becomes the standard expectation for what we want in the future everywhere. So how is this, how are Magna staying ahead of evolving consumer demands, especially as they relate to the software-defined aspects of vehicles? Because you must be seeing a rise in those expectations month by month, year by year.
Yeah. Well, we have to separate. How do we see the market? On the one hand, we do have an internal research department that really does interviews with end consumers so that we understand what do customers expect from a car of the future. And just to give you an example that may not be a surprise, but if you think about what do customers expect nowadays from vehicles with an ICE engine or with an electric motor, we found out that people buying an electric vehicle do have much higher requirements in terms of software functions, over-the-air updates, etc., than compared to vehicles with an ICE engine. As an engineer, we would clearly notice that over-the-air update and software function has nothing to do with the drivetrain by itself. Yeah, you can update a vehicle and a vehicle network independent from the powertrain. But people see this different. They see electric cars, and with that, software-defined vehicles as much more modern devices to be integrated, maybe even in their mobile phone environment, and etc., which they do not expect from an ICE engine today. And on the other side, we have clear our OEM customers. So our daily business is so-called B2B, so business to business. We have, if we go to our customers, we don't talk to end consumers, we talk to the car manufacturers. And they have pretty well organized procurement departments who tell us what they need and what it is allowed to cost. Yeah. And so this is a difference. So on the one side, we try to identify trends that we have to be prepared for if we do surveys or whatever with end customers. But on the other side, our day-to-day business is, of course, with OEMs, whom in most cases know pretty well what they want to buy and what they are willing to pay for. And this may be not exactly the same picture as we see with end consumers, as every OEM has its individual brand and they focus on market segments individually that fits to their brand.
And of course, with Magna now becoming a top supplier in active safety features, I'm curious, how are you addressing some of the big challenges related to consumer adoption and regulatory compliance? Because I would imagine that there's a few hurdles and obstacles to overcome there.
First, Neil, and you allow please that I remark, we are one of the top suppliers. Yeah, we will not become. We are already there. We're one of the largest suppliers for ADAS systems. This year, we completely integrated Veoneer after we bought them individually. So we are one of the largest player in the ADAS market, offering multi applications of sensors from ultrasonic, thermal cameras, radar systems, etc., etc. And yes, we have to be prepared, but we as well, after we had a lot of investments and publications that OEMs will go to robot taxis, automated vehicles. I think the wave calmed a little bit down. Most of the OEMs and end consumers see that there is a wide gap in between cost of a L2 plus piloted vehicles versus a fully automated driven vehicle. And I think it will take us a while. So we will focus on our most applications right now on L2 and L2 plus applications. So this, I think, will be over the next years a very good compromise in between features that you can offer, especially when driving on a highway and the driver wants to do different things, mailing, phoning, chatting, or whatever. And this, therefore, may be a main market. And before we move to fully autonomous, this will take us a while. And so we have to find out what's a healthy business case. How much technology can we bring in? And what is the end customer and the OEM at the end willing to pay? And so we focus on this technology for L2, L2 plus, and maybe even 3 on the next 5 to 10 years, I would guess, before we then do the next jump. And yeah, as we have calmed down a little bit on this technology hype for autonomous vehicles, I think this is something that the OEMs see in absolutely the same pattern as we see right now, because at the end customer would have to pay for it. And if you need full redundancy and full electronics equipment, etc., I think the gap that the end consumer is not willing to pay is too large to achieve autonomous vehicles in the next 5 years.
And of course, you've got so much going on, a lot of exciting technology. So can you tell me a little bit more about Magna's new technologies, like things like breakthrough lightning, and how they're also offering both design freedom and functional advantages, especially for electric and autonomous vehicles?
Yes, of course. I think that the scope will change. The vehicle will be integrated into a personal network of people, and I think that when we think about sustainability and vehicles integrated into cities where people think about car sharing, etc., so communication with the vehicle, I think, is a feature that people will focus on. And of course, with our approach for integrated lighting, we have a flexibility that with an easy change in tooling and process, the end customer can change the outer picture of the vehicle completely. So you can communicate with the vehicle if you can blend in text messages or show that the vehicle drives autonomously at the moment, or you can show the battery charging status so that when you approach a vehicle from the outside, you can see what is the charging status, etc., etc. And those features we definitively believe will increase, and we have some technologies where we use thermoplastic instead of metal applications, which then again goes back to sustainability because you can save weight with it. We can integrate much smaller lightning systems in that. So it all goes hand in hand, that we have more freedom for the vehicle designers to change vehicles without changing mega toolings at the one hand side. On the other side, this offers functionalities that technically even the end consumer and the owner of the vehicle can finally adjust with his handy if the OEM allows to. And on the other side, makes assembly processes at the OEMs easier because we take out parts, we go to miniaturization, we bring LEDs in, matrix displays into the outer surface of a vehicle. So it's a very wide, complex arena that we address right here. And that's only one example of technology we are offering. Yeah, others are, for example, fully integrated battery systems that we try to take out materials and use the battery case by itself as part of the chassis that can carry seating. So we can take out weight and material in the body in white. Or we have combinations of a powertrain and our navigation sensors, our cameras, so that we can bring in algorithms for more efficient front-looking driving strategies, etc., etc. So if you look on the portfolio that we can offer as Magna, I think that's a very wide, which makes us unique. And of course, with our capabilities for complete vehicle manufacturing and complete vehicle design, we may have even a wider scope than other players in the market have that we can serve.
And looking at the road ahead, and especially as we're heading to 2024, what steps are you taking at Magna, taking to transition into existing partnerships and your collaborations towards a future focused on, as we've said a few times here, electric and autonomous vehicles? Because it does look like an exciting future that we're heading towards.
Well, yeah, of course, you may understand that I can't explain our M&A pipeline that we have currently discussion, but we observe consequently the market, and I think everybody is doing right now. Where can we invest into small companies? Where can we work together with startup companies and great ideas? That's something we permanently do and regularly review in a gremium. But yeah, one step of execution was the Veoneer acquisition that we did last year. And we are with that continuously exploring new market segments. And one market segment we just added is the so-called new mobility. don't know if you are aware of that. We have a partnership with Yulu in India. Yulu offers two-wheelers, and we have set up a joint venture, which is called Yuma, so Yulu and Magna, and we offer battery swapping. And with that, we learn a lot about end customers' behavior in mega metropoles. We have days where we do a 6,000 of battery swapping operations per day. So this is an engagement that we do with Yulu together. Yulu offers the two-wheelers, and in the joint venture, then we support the two-wheelers with battery and battery swapping and battery recharging stations, so that you can drive by a swapping station. It looks like a cupboard. You take out your battery, you swap that into the cupboard, and then identify yourself, and then you can take out a fully reloaded battery and continue your journey. And this is one end we are doing to understand how people behave in mega metropoles based on two-wheelers, because the new mobility and mobility of the future will not only be with pass cars and four-wheelers. Not all people around the world can afford that. And on the other hand, we are investing in small robot cars, so personal delivery devices. Just to give an example, in Michigan, we have a robot system released on the roads where we have a contract with some partners, and one is a pizza service. So if you order a pizza, you can order it to be delivered by a small six-wheeler robo that brings it to your home, and then you get informed when the pizza is in front of your home and it's still warm. So we have a thermal chamber in as well. So these are activities that we are driving just to understand how will the market for e-mobility and delivery evolve, and always keeping in mind that one major driver is climate change, and with that, sustainability. So imagine if we would have all delivery service with small devices and getting those big delivery trucks out of the cities. Of course, that would give more space, more traffic freedom to everybody else in living in downtown areas. And yeah, I think the world will change, that we get more and more smart devices, not only on road, but maybe even in the air as well.
Well, we've learned so much about the success at Magna International today, but of course, none of us are able to achieve any degree of success without a little help along the way. So maybe I'd love to find out something more about yourself there, your backstory, and maybe someone saw something in you, invested a little time in you, or just inspired you. But is there anyone that you're grateful towards in your career?
Oh, yes. I think it's very important if you're inspired and if you have great ideas to combine this with business, and taking business or setting up business always means that you have to do some risk decision. It's always an investment, and hopefully earning and revenue comes later. And if it is profitable, the better it is. Yeah, I have three persons where I'm very grateful. One was Armin Müller, the inventor of the ESC system, and he won together with a leading engineer from Bosch the Porsche Prize for it. When we started new braking system and stability systems after the Moose on the Elk test at Daimler, and then when I moved on in my career, I really had the chance to establish the e-mobility and hybrid business for Continental AG. At that time, we produced the first lithium-ion battery, and Karl Thomas Neumann was the CEO who motivated me, inspired me, and said, we believe in that technology. E-mobility will be a technology of the future. And finally, Dr. Stefan Sommer, who was CEO at ZF, where we established a new division and transformed ZF from being a transmission company to a e-mobility provider. Those were people who believed in me, gave me some kind of freedom, and we had a lot of innovations to change the portfolio. And I'm happy right now to have a chance at Magna overall, being in charge of Magna for all the product groups, to drive innovation and bring new products into serious production that helps Magna to grow and move forward into the new world of mobility, whatever it is, in terms of people, products, pass cars, two-wheelers, or robots. Let's see what the future will bring.
Wow, I think that's a beautiful moment to end the podcast on. I think it's so important to give people like that a shout out, because none of us realise just how much our actions and investing time in others really can impact and change the world. And it's a beautiful moment. But before I let you go, for anyone listening, just wanting to find out more information about Magna International, some of the topics we explored together, maybe they want to contact you or your team, where would you like to point everybody listening?
Of course, if you directly go to the Magna webpage and then click on feedback, you can of course address me on LinkedIn as well, where I have my profile. Yeah, and LinkedIn may then be the fastest way to get to me personally. But of course, if you go on our webpage and then contact Magna and address it to me, then it will end in my mailbox as well.
Well, as I said at the very beginning, on this podcast every day, I try and get people thinking differently about how technology is impacting just about everything, our entire lives, work and world. And I think you've done a fantastic job today of bringing to life everything that you're doing at Magna International. So again, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to meet. Yeah, and looking forward to see you again one day when we talk about a new topic that we have brought into serious production.
So a huge thank you to today's guest for sharing his story today. And I think it's clear that the automotive industry is at a pivotal point right now, with innovations like electric and autonomous vehicles beginning to lead the way towards a more sustainable and connected future. I, for one, have gained invaluable insights into Magna's role as one of those key players in that transformation, and how they're focusing on customer needs, environmental sustainability, and, of course, the exciting prospects of new technologies and partnerships. Hey, gang, if you are an IT or business leader and you're currently sat on the fence about whether you should adopt the Apple Mac platform at scale across your organisation and thinking, is this a good idea? Well, the new podcast from SHI, We Got Your Mac, is a great way to help you make a more informed decision. I often get asked which podcasts I listen to, where I get ideas from. And season 1 of this particular podcast, We Got Your Mac, features Apple experts and customers that just share their advice and experiences of successfully introducing Mac to the corporate environment. If it sounds like something you'd be interested in, check it out. You can find out more at wegotyourmac.com to listen and learn more. But if you've got anything you'd like to add to the conversation, you know the drill. Email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @NeilC.Hughes. I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything we discussed today. But that's it. So thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.